To solve this data sufficiency question, we'll consider each statement separately first and then together if needed. Before the statements, let's consider that to determine which point is closer to the point Q, we can use the distance formula to see which of the 2 points has a smaller distance between itself and Q. So before we dive into the statements individually, let's go ahead and jot down the distance formula. The distance formula between 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, would be d equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So let's go ahead and with this, we'll keep it in mind when we're considering each statement individually. So let's consider statement 1 first. For statement 1, we're given that Q lies on the line x equals y. We can represent this point as Q equals x comma y or x comma x because y is equal to x since it lies on that line. Now, finding the distance between each of the given points and Q, we have, for the first point, 10, 3, our distance will equal the square root of 10 minus x squared plus 3 minus x squared. We'll make sure to cover that guy since it's all under the square root. Let's do the same thing for our other point. Our other point is 3, 10. So our distance will equal the square root of 3 minus x squared plus 10 minus x squared. These distances are actually equal regardless the value of Q. So these are the same. Because addition underneath the root is commutative, we can rearrange each of these to match up and make them actually look the same. So the values are equal regardless of what Q is, and it holds for all x's. So Q is equal distance from the 2 points given. This statement alone is sufficient. So since statement 1 alone is sufficient, we can eliminate answer choice B, C, and E. We're left with answer choice A or D, and to determine which of those we can choose as the final answer, we're going to have to consider statement 2. So let's go ahead and let's clear our board, and we'll consider statement 2 next. We're going to go ahead and leave the distance formula in case we need that. Cross that back off. And now let's go ahead and consider statement 2. Given that Q lies on the line y equals negative x, in a similar fashion to what we did last time, we can rewrite Q, if it's the point x, y, we can rewrite it as x negative x. Now finding the distance between each of the given points and Q, we can do what we did last time. Let's start with point 10, 3, and let's find the distance. D is equal to the square root of 10 minus x squared plus 3 minus negative x, so 3 plus x squared. Now let's go ahead and let's do the same thing for the other point. The other point would be 3, 10 from our question. And we can go ahead and find this distance from Q. Square root of 3 minus x squared plus 10 minus negative x, so 10 plus x squared. And all of that is still under the root. If x is equal to 0, these distances would be equal because we would have 10 squared plus 3 squared here. And if x is 0 for the second point, we would have 3 squared plus 10 squared, so the values would actually be the same. However, if x is any other value, these distances will not be equal. So Q would be closer to one of the 2 points. It kind of depends on what X would be and where Q actually lies. Since the answer to the question is not definitive, since it depends on what X is, this statement alone is not sufficient. So we can actually eliminate answer choice D, and our correct answer would be answer choice A. Statement 1 alone is sufficient, but statement 2 alone is not sufficient.